Okay. All right, everyone. We are live here from Taylor Sport Chiropractic and Wellness, the home of Skeleton Bob. I hope you all had the opportunity to catch the conversation I had last week with Candy Harris with Conversations with Bob. We're going to try and shove another one of those in on Thursday. I'm actually going to be out of town on Friday, so I'm going to try and do one on Thursday. And we've got a couple people that we're contacting to get on the call or to get on the show, and we're going to work out from there. But welcome to our first live of the week. Today is Monday. It is the second Monday in October. We have 11 weeks left in this year. So I hope that you are digging in and you're working on 10xing the rest of the year. Maybe you've gone back in your goals from early in the year and you found something that you want to recommit to and just get after it. We've got plenty of time to get that stuff done and to get some stuff added in, right? To check some more stuff off your list for 2018. With all that being said, the topic I have for y'all today is teenagers, right? We've all been a teenager at one point. We all know what that's like. It's crazy and scary and uncomfortable for everyone, the teenagers and the family. I'm on my swivel chair today, so we'll see if I can hold still, being that I'm a big fidgety kid myself. So we have quite a few teenagers that come through the office, and we're treating them for all types of stuff, sports injuries, of course, focus issues, stress, anxiety, all these types of things as well. So we see lots of different things when it comes to these kids. I love treating these guys and girls. I love helping them do better in school and just do better with their life. I really, really believe that if we can get a teenager that's struggling with something, if we can get them under chiropractic care, that we can really change the trajectory of their lives, right? Like we can just make their life move just that little bit to the left or the right, and we can get them going in the right direction and get their nervous system calmed down and under control. And that's what I want to talk about today. You know, a lot of the moms and dads are out there, they're asking questions, they're starting these conversations, you know, because we treat a lot of the littler kids in the office and they want to know, well, should I bring in my teenager? And I say, yes, you should bring in your teenager. And then we start to have those conversations. So the moms and dads are talking to us a lot about the teenagers and what's going on with them. As always, you guys, I have a ton of notes here. So I'm going to try and get through these notes in a somewhat logical fashion that makes sense to everyone. And I know that I tend to ramble on, so I'm going to try and just kind of move through the information. If you have questions or anything, please put them in the comments, and I'll get them answered for you as we move through. And so, like I said, the moms and dads are you know, trying to get the best handle on the stress and in our current lifestyles. There's so much going on in these kids' lives today. They're getting shuffled around sometimes from household to household. If you've got two households in the family, they've got sports, they've got music. Some of them are in FFA, so they've got, you know, sheeps and lambs and goats and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of this stuff going on, and they're trying to do well in school, and they've got social media. So the stressors are different. They're different from when a lot of us were a kid. And so these kiddos that are 14, 15, 16 and on, right, they have lived through what we call the perfect storm, right? They've already done all this stuff. They've had the earaches or the colic and the torticollis and the ear infections and the multiple rounds of antibiotics. And, you know, they've been through this thing that we call the perfect storm, and now they've become teenagers. And they've had a lot of stress in that early childhood, and now they're in their teens, and they have the teen stress, the hormones, the high school, the dating, the driving, the other stuff that I shared earlier. They have all that stuff going on top of it. You know, and so what we see with them is they start running up against all these other things. And what happens is, and I mentioned this in a live I did last week, it's like these issues from that early on, grade school, middle school issues, they don't leave them, right? They don't leave them. Yes, maybe they're not showing the outward signs of these things, but they don't leave them. What happens is they morph or they change forms and they turn into something else in the teenagers. And that's when we see, you know, some of these things that are going to be labeled, you know, ADD, ADHD, and some of these other issues. But really it's just, it can be, you know, just this heavy stress, heavy anxiety, and, you know, their adrenals are in high gear, just like an adult by this point. Our adrenal glands are just going bonkers, not to mention all of our hormones are going bonkers because we're in high school. And then the stress gets stuck on. Stress stuck on, right? And this is something, again, that we talk about in the Perfect Storm talk, is that the fact that our stress is stuck on, we're stuck in this sympathetic fight or flight, and we're just, our cup is full all the time. But now we're teenagers at it, and we're trying to figure out life and do all these other things while all this stuff is on us. Now, like a lot of you know that have heard me talk before about stress, stress is important. Cortisol is important. Epinephrine and norepinephrine and all these hormones that come from the adrenal glands, all of this stuff is important. We're supposed to have it. We're supposed to have very high stress, but for a very short amount of time, right? So if someone is going to take a test, or if they're playing in a football game or a volleyball game or something like that, and then they're in that stress situation, and your stress goes up, all those hormones are released, everything's going great, you need to be high energy for that time frame, and then when that event or activity is over, you should be able to settle right back down and get right back into a normal parasympathetic rest and digest, healing, recovery type of phase. And what we're finding is that's not what's happening with the kids, right? That's not what's happening. And that's where the problem comes in today's world, is again, when we're stuck on stress, the adrenals are running the show. So now our cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, all these hormones out of our adrenal glands, they're running the show. And this stress that the adrenal glands are putting out there, these hormones that are being put out there, they're being driven deeper and deeper and deeper into the nervous system. So remember, the nerves that fire together wire together. So all this stuff is going off, and then it gets intertwined and it goes down. And that's where we start living. Right? Our teenagers are living there. And what's interesting about this too is a lot of times the parents are saying stuff like, well, we just don't know who he is anymore. Some days he's Jekyll and some days he's Hyde. Like, we just don't know. So there's something that happens in there, and they tend to go way, way up, and then they have a crash, right? They have a crash. But like I said, underneath of all this is the nervous system, and it's stuck, just like we've been talking about with a lot of these other issues. Now, it's interesting because there's going to be a hill or a curve or a stopping point somewhere in here. You're going to see these teenagers, they're going to have anger, anxiety. Again, they're going to be wound up. They're going to be agitated. They're going to be emotional, right? Sounds like standard teenager time. But what happens is they get stuck for so long, and they run like that for so long that at some point it's going to give out. The adrenal glands are going to give out. The system is going to give out because there's just no more gas. As you just can't keep your foot on the gas pedal for that long. And we actually see this in young adults, college students. I see this in a lot of my athletes. Sorry, guys. Bugged. Mosquitoes still. We see this with CEOs. We see this with our triathletes, CrossFitters, stuff like this. You go, 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 go. And you get to a point where there's just no more gas, and the whole system, it just crashes. And this is what happens. And the kids, what happens is they tend to shut down. And this is the teenager that shut down, right? They've lost focus. They're not talking. They're not talking to their parents. They're not talking to their peers. And they're not engaging, right? It's literally a shutting down, and their neuroadrenals are now giving up. So remember, there's always a nervous system component to all this. So there's neuroadrenals, neuroimmune, neuroemotional, right? There's a line between the brain, the neuro, and the gut. So a neurogut or neurodigestive issue that comes into play here. And so they just run out of fuel. So before, they were way too much, right? The gas pedal was on and these kids are just way too much. And what happens now is they go to a very, very low point. There's lots of reasons. It could be the environment. That's what can help a lot. They're so stuck that they, like I said, they go to a low point. And actually, that was me. Like when I was a teenager, I got to a point like that. I would go as a younger person, and when I got to my teenage years, man, I went really, really, really low. Right? I went really, really, really low. If you talk to my mom about what I was like as a little kid, she'll say, "Oh, Theo was wild. She was just wild." And I was wild, and my poor mom, she's a single mom, didn't know how to deal with me. And man, what if I had found chiropractic, right? What if I had the opportunity to find chiropractic before I did? My life could have been totally different. But then I wouldn't have the opportunity to be here and helping you. So that it's kind of a double-edged sword. But what these kids need, what our teenagers need, is they need resilience, adaptability, and emotional flexibility. I'm going to tell you that again. They need resilience, adaptability, and emotional resiliency. And they need this in all of our systems, right? Like I said, in our immune system, in our digestive system, in our emotional system, in our body awareness, all these types of things. There's so much that we can do and from a drug-free standpoint, right? I understand that a lot of the kids that come into my office are on medications, and that's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's what needs to be done at times. Like I shared in a video at the end of last week, there's a time and a place for everything. And we tend to be the last house on the block, so a lot of times the drugs aren't working, or they're turning their kids into zombies, so they end up here. Drug-free help kids, and like I said, sometimes they need it. So that's kind of what's happening with these guys. That's what's happening in these teenagers. And you know, if they go off to college like this, then you know, that's not a great thing. So if we can nip some of this in the bud, even if they've been through the perfect storm, like I talked about, as a youngster, as early school, middle school, and now they're in high school, but they're showing some of these signs. It's okay. There's stuff that you can do. I'm going to be coming out with some more information on this. So if this helps you, please, please, please give us a call. We would love to help you if you can identify with any of this information. On October 24th, we're actually going to be doing a talk. I'm going to be doing a talk called The Perfect Storm. Right here in the building. I'm going to have food. I'm going to have a place for the kids to hang out. We'll have coloring and activities. And it's on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. There's info on our Facebook page, and I'll put the Eventbrite link in here as well. So please share this if you know someone who might be interested in this information. There's a lot that chiropractic can do for this. There's a lot that we can do to put that resiliency, adaptability, and emotional flexibility back into the nervous system of these teenagers. If you have any questions, please holler. Please share this. Thanks for listening today, and peace out on this Monday. Peace out.